Ready as we'll ever be.
Awesome. We're on. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. First of all, really, really appreciate you taking the time.
No worries, no worries. I'm just glad it's a super sunny day in Southern California.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I want to ask. So why did you bring me to this place?
Thanks for asking. So we're at Crystal Cove State Park
Yeah.
here in Newport Coast, and I raised my family here for 24 years, about 2 miles up the road.
Yeah.
And my parents live about 1 mile from here as well. So we shared a lot of really great moments when our boys were growing up with us here at the beach. And my parents used to do the 5K loop walking here. And near the end of my father's life, he couldn't do the 5K walk anymore. And he ended up sitting on a bench over the way.
Yeah.
And then people would come by and chit chat with him. And so every year we go to the bench that my father sat on near the end of his life to commemorate his
I see.
his
That's
passing.
one of those benches over there.
The benches on the top path. Yeah. So, when they were younger people, there's basically, if you walk all the way around on the top path and you come down on the bottom, you can pretty much a 5K or 3.12 miles. And he had a lung condition. So after a while, he couldn't go up and down the hills and up down the stairs. And then after a while, he really couldn't go very far, but he always made the best of it. And then he has his bench over there that we would love to commemorate after him, but the state park hasn't really responded to that request yet.
And I think, but it's a great memory for you personally. Coming back here, thinking through your dad, your family, your whole life cycle. I mean, great. I think, first of all, thank you for.
And it's a beautiful place.
It's a beautiful place. I can't disagree. I would pretty much stay here the whole day and night, and then I can still chill. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Beautiful sunsets here.
So, of course, I have a mix-up audience. Some of them are entrepreneurs, CTOs, CIOs. Some of them also are getting started in their careers. But if they need to know something about you, if you can say it in 3 words, I'm putting you in the spot.
Okay.
Like, 3 words. Like, this is what Cynthia is all about. 3 words.
Wow, 3 words. And I did not get any prep on this one, so I could have thought about it a little bit longer.
1 to 3.
3 words would be integrous, challenging driver.
Awesome. I can't disagree with all 3 words. I've seen you for the last 2 years in multiple capacities, and you've looked up to me.
Well, and I'd say if I could explain, integrous means having integrity. And I think that at the end of the day, Elon Musk can't take his billions, now trillions, with him to the grave. You really only take your reputation and your integrity at the end of the day to the grave. And then, driver is like, we were executing and getting things done all the way through my career. And then also, of course, hopefully challenging myself and other people to become the best person they can be.
Makes sense. Let me ask you this. Why these 3? You kind of clarified it. Can you give me some examples of here is a moment where I was challenged and I had to take this path. This goes back to the next question about ethics and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. So I grew up in an academic family. My parents worked in universities, and we moved around a lot when I was a kid, and we always lived in college towns. And so I thought, as a young person, I would be a college professor. That was like the thing. And so I went straight through. I got my bachelor's, my master's, and my Ph.D. Kind of all straight through. And then along the way, while I was getting my Ph.D., I ended up getting a job in advertising sales. And I was, wow, this is fun. It's merit-based. It's, you get paid more for what you put into it and all of that. But certainly the first biggest challenge of my life was completing my Ph.D. And still to this day, it's amongst the top 3 challenges I've experienced in my life. Partly not because of the research and all of that, but just was a very political process in those days, being in academia and in the university and so forth. And so completing that PhD was a huge milestone for me. So that was one huge challenge that I overcame.
Makes sense. I think I tried attempting to take PhD and it was difficult, and I gave up. I'm super amazed.
It's very hard.
It's very hard.
I always tell people, they say, I'm thinking about getting my PhD. It's like, Okay, be ready.
This is me.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. I have a couple of questions, which is more. It's kind of around your life and career. You did your PhD. I saw you got into entrepreneurship, and then you came back to the academic at Chapman University. How did you take this journey? Like why and what happened?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Like I said, I grew up in this academic family, and it was just sort of a natural thing to think, oh, I'm going to be a college professor. And along the way, I needed to earn money. You know, my parents were not paying for grad school. And so I got a job selling advertising on cable television. That was before anybody thought, they all thought, well, what are we doing with 500 channels? But I really enjoyed the merit-based aspect of the business world. And I got into advertising, and then I was advertising in a magazine, and then I went to advertising at Dr. Dobbs Journal, which is a tech publication. Back in the day, it was a software developer magazine.
Yep.
And from there, I was recruited out to go to my first startup. So it was like 1993, really before people left their corporate cushy jobs for startups. So I was one of the first. And I was quite a young person back in those days, but we ended up selling that company to R.R. Donnelly and Sons out of Chicago in 14 months.
Wow.
And so, I'm in my 20s and I think, wow, that was easy. Let's, startups are fun. And then the same founder contacted me again and he said, I have this new idea. And it was an audio on demand platform, 1994, and an MP3 player. And so he had the idea for, what would then become the MP3 player and iPod 10 years before everybody would have an iPod, not an iPhone, but an iPod in their pocket.
Right. The small ones.
About 2004 when Apple had that, the iPod out in the market. So we were way, way early to market. And I really loved the startup and the entrepreneurial world. I was never the person with the genius idea, but I was always the person to execute on the genius idea.
Okay.
And I love startups because it allowed me to do more aspects inside of the company. Like corporate America, they were always telling me like, stay in your swim lane, stay in your swim lane. And I really don't want to stay in my swim lane. I enjoyed being able to do both the sales side, marketing side, PR, what have you. So I really loved the startup journey. I ended up doing 4 or 5, depending on how you count them. So 1 acquisition, 1 we took Audio Highway public. The 3rd, oddly, backed by Ernst & Young, $7 million. That one went bankrupt. And the 4th is still an ongoing concern. Wish them the best and hope that they get acquired at some point too. But in the back of my mind, that my younger self said, I'll finish my PhD like with the idea of like when I'm old, I'll return back and be a professor.
Right.
And so when the opportunity came up to both run the center and to teach, I was teaching sales and entrepreneurship. I thought, well, it's a dream come true.
Right.
It's like the full cycle back, full circle moment to come back and teach. And I'm so ever so grateful that Chapman gave me the opportunity to fulfill that part of my dream for sure. So that's how I ended up back into that.
This is awesome. Just a small backstory. The reason why I quite often think you is because my dad is a professor as well.
Oh, really?
My dad has a PhD and he's a professor. When back in India, he used to have this, and then he motivated me to do PhD, but I did not.
See? Yeah.
So I always had a lot of respect for people who do PhD and be a college prof. So
yeah. And so my dad, he wasn't a professor, but he was actually one of the first guys with the title of his first title was Director of Information Systems for Indiana University. So he was one of the first, what I would call like CIOs in an academic setting ever. So in a lot of ways, I kind of followed his footsteps. And then my mom was an entrepreneur of sorts. And so I feel like, yeah, I got a little piece of both of them in that sense.
I have a couple of questions from your academic, the fact that you wrote a book, right? I also want to tie this back to why you choose tech and ethics, because maybe is it your academic background that get you to ethics? I have some questions, but I'm going to quickly do a tech check and I'll come back.
Okay.
Okay.